right, so it's my great pleasure to introduce, gosh, I can't find her, a woman that we are in awe and admiration of. She helped create the Dallas Life Walk, enough said, which has had and continues to have a tremendous impact. She's the president of Cardiac Dynamics, but the thing that resonates the most is her belief in servant leadership. Join me in a well-deserved, on your feet, welcome to Emas Colquitt. And I'm sure I said that wrong. Colquitt, right? Oh, God. All right, you say it.
Colquitt.
All right, there you go.
I am very honored to be able to share this stage with such dynamic people, women especially. They are women that I have admired, learned from, and respected for a very long time. Lori Masters, thank you. If you were here in the 80s and 90s, she was an incredible resource. She was a mentor, role model. She readily gave of her time and resources because of her love for this community. I remember she would always have these wonderful parties at her house, at her home, and I remember attending a party where Rita Mae Brown, the writer, was there. That was a very special evening. I also want to thank Lori and Molly Buchanan for my being a recipient of the Extra Mile Award, the program that they founded for this community in 1989. Lori and I are also both alumni of Leadership Texas, a program that Governor Richards started. And another tidbit, Lori was an usher in the Holy Union for me and Joan. Yeah. Also, C.C. Cox came to our rescue at that Holy Union because she was our photographer, and she did a magnificent job as well. So it's great to be here. Thank you, Mike, for asking me to be a part of this program. And anyone out there who has learned to say no to Mike, see me after the program, please. Okay. Can't do it. And the Dallas Way, the committee, thank you for allowing me to be part of these wonderful voices that we will be giving to future generations. As I said earlier, I have been tremendously blessed. I have 3, sometimes 4, basic principles that I've tried to live by and have been blessed many times over while trying to live these principles. Number 1 is my love for God. I don't plan to preach to you. This is not the environment. But I just want you to know that I know, for me, there's someone out there, something out there higher than me, and I'm glad of that. All of you out there who think that, and let me just also say, let me just throw this out here. For me, being gay is the greatest gift that God has given me. Greatest gift that God has given me. Now, all of those, anyone out there who thinks that being gay is just a choice, let's talk later as well. The second principle is my love for my family, both biological and also chosen. Please allow me to introduce my chosen family, my soulmate, my foundation, my spouse of 26 years, Joan Sayers. And our beautiful daughter, Trinity, who at 14 asked Joan and I to be her moms. I'm happy to say that we adopted Trinity the next year. The third is, and most important to me, is my love of friends. I'm an only child, and to me, I can't have enough friends. And once again, the quality of the friends that I've had is outstanding. This is what the gay community in Dallas has given me. Friends that were role models who I admired and respected. Friends who encouraged and empowered me to be the servant leader that I'm continually trying to be today. But what's most important about these people in my life today is that they will be here and be with me, these friends, for the rest of my life. This community has brought me family and friends, and I'm very grateful. And the fourth, sometimes principal, is my love for Florida State University. All right. Oh, man. My life in Dallas. Anyone who knows me knows that I like dessert first. My dessert right now is to briefly talk about the wonderful things that we achieved through my eyes in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. The dessert for me was that many of you in this room tonight were working, giving it your time and resources to make these programs successful, and I will get to say thank you again from this forum. Don't worry, Trinity's over there with a stopwatch. I have about 10 to 12 minutes. The 80s, the decade in the 80s. How I got to Dallas was from a wonderful invite from a chance meeting in New Orleans with Kathy Bowser. I've met her and her sister there and showed them the city, and in return, she invited me to Dallas. I fell in love with Dallas immediately. The meeting with Kathy that weekend in New Orleans would begin a friendship that has lasted 33 years and counting. She's been my mentor, business advisor, confidant, big sister. She and her partner, Fluffy, introduced me to Joan. But what I love most about our current relationship is that she's the pastor of my church in East Texas. It's a wonderful, inclusive church in East Texas, Celebration on the Lake, with about 100 members. And as Cece said earlier, you just can't make this stuff up. You just can't. In 1984, came the Emas Ellis Christmas program. Please stand, all of you who participated in this program. Emas Ellis. Thank you. This is a wonderful program. We bought food, clothing, toys for needy children in the Dallas Metroplex. We were given families from the following agencies and hospitals. We served the social services departments of Parkland, St. Paul, and Children's Hospital. We also supported families from the Salvation Army and the kids at Brian's house. The program ran for 11 years, and we averaged, once we got going, about 250 volunteers per year. At least 95% of those volunteers came from this community. All total, we served over 2,000 individuals during that 11-year period. And I thank you again for participating in that. The agency directors would always call me after we get their presents, and they always said that the Emas Ellis program gave the best presents. And you know, that didn't surprise me at all, because that's what we do. We know what it is like to not have, to be looked at differently. So we did everything. It's kind of cute, because the social services director would call me and they say, well, if you can just get one present per child, they'll be happy. We didn't do that. We bought everything. Everything that was on the wish list, they got. And there was, I didn't hear of any other groups that did something like that. And we were very fair too. So because kids get to write out their own list sometimes, and so if you had a kid, a sister and brother, for example, and the sister wrote out 5 things and the brother wrote out 2 things, we would figure other 3 things that we could get to match, so they got the same number of presents as well. So I'm always forever indebted to all of you who participated in that. And it was a great meeting too, because Barbara O'Brien, Desert Moon, would allow us to bring, we usually did this the second Sunday in December, and we would bring all our presents there and we would deliver them to the respective homes. Also, another tidbit of FYI for you, the Women's Chorus of Dallas their first performance as a group was done at the Emas Christmas. And they did that every year that we were, for the next 10 years they did that. And they did it for free. Our time in the 80s was at times difficult. The AIDS crisis hit us very hard. We lost some of our brightest, brilliant minds. We lost generations. I lost, and many of you lost dear friends. Drew Howlett, Tim Iloff, Phil Stelzer, a friend of mine, Randy, who I worked with at the hospital. They were all dear friends of mine. But it also, and it was a very sad time for us, but it also gave the sisters an opportunity to step up. You know, prior to that time, we partied in the women's bars. Yes, Trinity, it was a bar. I was looking for Joan. We were in women's bars, and then men had their bars. And it was really neat that we kind of realized that we needed to help our brothers on the front end and not the back end. And from that came wonderful organizations, AIDS Resource Center and Oakland Community Service. If you served at all with Oakland Community Service, please stand. Hello. And I'm sure there are other programs going on now, but at the time, the AIDS Resource Center with John Thomas and OLCS with Terry Stone was the really 1-2 main programs that we had. And they did a lot. I love the staff. I mean, Pridge, Terry, Gary Swisher. It was exhausting. You could tell that they loved what they were doing. We were able to help our brothers on the front end in terms of disability, in terms of medication, in terms of housing. And so it really, you know, it was a devastating illness. It still is, but it brought us together, it brought us closer to help each other. I had the honor also of sitting on that board as its president, and as Dee said earlier, I was the fundraising committee chair. And it was really neat too, because there were men such as Fred York and Steve Hickerson, Paul Parker. Fred York actually created the Life Walk out of the Mother's March. He had worked for the March of Dimes for years. So the Life Walk actually came about as a duplication of the Mother's March. And we started that I think in first year we did $84,000. The fourth year we were doing $400,000. It was incredible the way that has taken off. And it's been a while since I've been in the community, so I'm glad to hear, are we still doing something like that even today? Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's great. And so I was on the board as a president. I was OLCS and also on the fundraising committee. And in my bio, I want to tell you, I've served on a lot of boards, and it's amazing what I took from this community, what you gave me. And one of the things that I have taken directly from the OLCS board was when I go to new boards that I have sat on, invariably somebody would ask me, does anyone know Robert's Rules of Order? Does anyone know parliamentary rules? And I would always raise my hand because I knew it. And I remember watching, as a board member before I became president, OLCS board meeting was a tight ship. There was business, and there was not a lot of excess going on. And I remember that when you would put forth a motion, it better be done the right way, or it may sit over in that corner. In fact, they were good at telling you, we're going to table that, and we'll talk about that next time. So I learned just the Robert Rules of Order, and it has done me well as I've gone to board. I usually wind up being the parliamentarian, the sergeant at arms. In 1988, as I said, I met Joan. In 1996, we had a Holy Union at the Cathedral of Hope. Carol West and Sandy Robertson were the pastors who officiated. Thank you again, Fluffy, Jim, other people who participated in that, Fluffy, Kathy, Bowser, Steve Hickerson, Jim Parrish, Cece, Lori. They gave us many memories to cherish. Also, the late Curtis Fry and Jim Parrish surprised us at the end by having us jump over a broom Many of you from the community were there, and I thank you. And Joan and I thank you again. This community rallied around me. This is in the 90s now. This community rallied around me when I was diagnosed with cancer in 1994. I was a proud woman. I didn't want to tell anybody. And I swore Fluffy and Kathy and Joan, and I think I told Carol West the secrecy. And the day before this, I had 2 surgeries. The day before the second surgery, Kathy Bowser, who was I think the current president, or had just come off the board of OLCS, she called me and she said, look, she says, you need the prayers of the people. She says, there are many people out here who love you, who want to pray for you, but you're not letting us tell anybody this, so you really need to think about this, so we need to talk to people. So I said, okay. So they told people, and I called people. And I remember Susan Spalter called me, and she told me that she was a survivor and that everything was going to be all right. I remember, and this is a little sidebar, it's important to survivors to hear from other survivors. It really is, because it gives you a type of kinship that tells you that they can do it, you can do it. And I'll always remember verbatim the conversation. I called Laurie Masters. She probably doesn't remember this conversation, but I called her and I told her I was going to have surgery and what it was about the next day. And she told me, and I quote, and I will remember this forever. She said, Emma, when I get off this phone from you, I'm going to pray for you. And that's what I got from this community. And I had the surgery, and I'll never forget going from the recovery room to my room. It was filled with flowers from many of you. And the nurses would repeatedly tell me that people must really like me, that I must be really special to do that. And I will always remember the big bouquet from in the corner. I can still see it from OLCS. So thank you very much. I'm also happy to tell you I'm happy to announce that last month was my 20th anniversary of being cancer-free. We're into the 2000 and we're almost done. In 2003, I began mentoring to a young lady who I didn't know her family situation at all. She wanted to learn how to play basketball, and I played basketball at Florida State. But she seemed really sad, and she was happy when she was at our home, and we began to keep her. And she began to stay at our home more and more. In 2004, 2 lesbians were able to take full custody of our daughter, Trinity Ojo. Our lives have changed dramatically. People ask, where have you been for the last 10, 12 years? Trinity. And anyone who has children, they must be the center of your world until they're old enough to be adults. So we have no regrets for that. We've had a great time. We've been all over the country with Trinity. And oh, by the way, it was interesting. I was working so hard teaching her basketball. Joan came to me one day and told me, she says, it's not basketball. She loves volleyball. I said, it's volleyball, not basketball. We went to school schedules. We put in a private school, went to basketball tournaments, volleyball tournaments. And then we got a lot of college offers. Everybody at 6'3", you can't teach height. Everybody wants that. So it was life-changing for us. We would go, which was playing basketball. I remember going to the Nike camp in Portland, Oregon. Joan loved it because she got to go to Mount St. Helen. I loved it because I got to watch basketball. But Joan, and then she took the team. She wound up taking the team over to Mount St. Helen. I'm happy to announce to you guys that Trinity graduated from college with a degree in marketing this past December. And we also, I'm happy to tell you that she was the first team All-American in volleyball. Okay? I say this, I tell people this, the graduating from college is for Joan, the All-American is for me, from my work. I'm also very encouraged by Trinity and also our daughter Katie. It's interesting to watch. Trinity, both Katie and Trinity has outed us wherever she's gone. I mean, she does. I mean, she loves her moms, and she tells you immediately she has two moms, and please don't act like you don't like that, because she won't have anything to do with you. And we think, and it's interesting, our niece does the same thing too. And what Joan and I have concluded that we think that they use our relationship as a litmus test for people to decide whether they want to be their friends. And I like to think in some way Joan and I have helped them along that process. In fact, Katie tells people, it's interesting, Katie, who's 15 now, she tells people that I have two gay aunts, one black, one white, and they had a holy union. And she almost like stands back to see what you're going to say. But we love them both, and they both, as I watch them develop, I have great hope for them. They have gay friends, they have friends who have gay parents. It's not about them, it's about us, about those people. But I have great hope because of Katie and because of Trinity. Also, by the way, Trinity went to school in Columbia, Missouri, and this last year she was a judge at a drag show in Columbia. So, I mean, I'm in the life. I've never had an opportunity to do that. Trinity's not gay at all. I mean, I never got anybody out there with a drag show. I would love to judge. I'm a good judge. So. Coming to a close here, Joan and I became members of Celebration on Lake Church. Please stand, all Celebration on Lake Church members. It was started, Joan and I became members in 2009, but it started much earlier. In fact, Carol West started it first, and then Kathy Bowser, my dear friend, has been a fabulous minister. I mean, it's been really cool it's all inclusive, and you feel the welcome when you walk in the door. It's about 100 of us, and if you can still be on the lake by 12:30. If you come out to Cedar Creek, Gun Barrel, Maybank, Pain Springs, please consider joining us. And I never am one to miss an opportunity. We have a golf tournament, by the way, this weekend. So those of you who want to come, we can teams. It's really great. It really is. Almost home. I fell in love with this city 32 years ago. The success I have, any success I've had, personally and professionally, can very easily be attributed to most of you in this room. And for that, I am very grateful. And so you see, hopefully, when you understand now, when I say that being gay was one of the greatest gifts God has given me. Thank you.